So we're beginning of this year. We're doing a series just called Love, right? And really, it's a catch-all for really just about anything and everything that I want to speak about, right? So I'm going to kind of be jumping around different things, things hit me at different times, or something happens, and I will. I'll be interested in a certain aspect of love or so forth. So this, about a week or so ago, a friend of mine, I told you guys I'm off social media. I got hacked, so I couldn't get back in anything. So I just dropped everything. So I have no idea. So my friend in England, his name's Jeff. His wife's name's Michelle. They have 2 boys. And he texted Michelle, or got a hold of Michelle somehow, and said, is Jeff okay? I've been trying to reach him. I can't talk to him or whatever, And she texted him back and said, yeah, everything's fine. He's just off social media and so forth. And he said, well, I wanted to let him know. Now, here's the thing. Jeff is we were in language school together. He's just a great family. They were missionaries and just loves God. And he's telling me something about somebody else that I could say the exact same thing about. They're a great family. They're great, they love God, right? And so forth. And he texted me and said, I want to let you know that I am defriending, is that the right term on social media or whatever, defriending this family. And then he began to explain why. And I thought, isn't that sad? Don't you think that's sad? I mean, so you have a family here that loves God, a family here that loves God, right? I mean, hopefully. And one is saying something that is so upsetting to the other one that they're defriending them. And that bothered me for a good week or two. It still bothers me. And I kept thinking about this, and it's so pervasive in our culture today, isn't it? Not just in the Christian culture. I mean, in America today, it's just so pervasive. And so I thought, what I want to do is I want to talk about an aspect of love that if we claim to be followers of Jesus, that this should be part of who we are. And so Lydia's going to put a scripture up there. It's Galatians 5:22 and 23. And it talks about the fruit of the Spirit. And it says the fruit of the Spirit is, obviously, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Now, there are other parts, like we talked about 1 Corinthians 13. It said love is, and there's a whole other list. And so all of these, I think, are part and parcel of us trying to understand, define what love is. Carl texted me a week or so ago, and he said, Jeff, do you think this is an explanation of what love is, what agape is, or what do you think this actually is? And so I've been thinking about that for a couple weeks. I don't think it's as easy as one answer. I know Carl would say the exact same thing. Is all of this is an attempt to help explain what life should be like, don't you think? What our lives should be like, how we should interact with God, right? Love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and how we should interact with one another. And so if that's true, now I get this, we don't live in a perfect world, I get that, but how many of you have been a follower of Jesus for at least a year? Raise your hand. At least a year. At least 5 years? Keep your hand up. 5 years? 10 years? 20 years? 30 years? Right? 40 years? My point is this. All our hands are up. We should be getting further moving along in our faith, I would hope. And so I ask myself periodically, I don't know if you do this, I have a couple friends, Steve's one of them, who constantly is setting goals and has journals and so forth. I don't know if you do that, I don't know how you do that. I think it's a good thing to do. I think people do at all different levels. Some people aren't, so much writing down or whatever, but the point is still the same. You have to be able to evaluate somehow, some way, yourself, your growth. You do it with your finances, don't you? Right? You figure out where we are, where we want to go, what do we have to do to get there. Well, what about our life of love, right? How do we monitor that? How do we check ourselves periodically to see, how am I doing in this area? Am I growing in this area at all? Like, how do we know? And so in this series, I want to talk about these different qualities or these different aspects, whatever word you want to use, about love, and maybe challenge us a little bit on it, and just help us think about our own life, like not about somebody else's, but about your own life, and find out, kind of where am I? And so, would you read that scripture with me? Let's read it together. Galatians 5:22-23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. It'd be a good scripture to memorize. I used to do that all the time. I used to give you a scripture for the day, kind of the maybe the text that underpinned the message. The thing that I'm wanting us to think about together. That's really what my hope is. My hope is that I'm not preaching at you, but we're having I know it's a monologue, I get that, but it's this conversation, right? And I can talk about it here, and then you can leave, and you can, and in the car ride on the way home, or later on that day or that week, you can talk about it, and you can think about it, and you can challenge yourself, right? And so the specific one that I want to talk about today is something that I see lacking so much. It's so funny because when I pick a topic, I tell people when they're going to speak all the time, I go, pick a topic, a subject that you want to talk about, okay? And then that week before you're going to speak, just pay attention to your life. Pay attention to your life. Because I guarantee you will automatically find examples and stories and stuff like that to go along with your message, guaranteed. You ever think about buying a new car? Anybody think about buying a new car? And let's say it's going to be doesn't matter what it is, like a Subaru, right? A certain Subaru. I think, I like that car. What do you start noticing everywhere you go? That car. You start noticing not just any Subaru, but the one that you're thinking of, right? So it's kind of the same thing. And so I was thinking about a week ago, or after I got this correspondence with my friend Jeff. The words that he was talking about that they were sharing were far from gentle words. They were the opposite of gentle. They were harsh. And they were mean. I thought that shouldn't be. And so this past week, Pete and I are working together. And I'm not going to share it, Connie. Don't worry. I'm not going to. I'd never say that word that he said. My point is that we're working together, and as you're working, things happen, and so Pete and I have known each other our whole lives, right? And so we can have a tendency, like, I know what gets underneath his skin. I just know. He knows what's going to get underneath my skin. Like, we just know. You know what I mean? And so, like a gentle word, like Peter asked me, if he asked me one, he asked me 5,000 questions, like in a week, about the construction process, how we're building it and so forth. And I'll tell him. Anyways, my point is that we had a correspondence, and my words were not gentle in the least. They weren't. Now, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't say bad word, but I just knew, right? You know what I'm talking about? I just knew what to say. I knew how to phrase the sentence. That's all it took. Just phrase the sentence. And that's what I mean by gentle. It wasn't gentle. He asked a question. And so I thought to myself, wow, isn't it amazing how I'm going to go and preach a message on this, and I look at my own life and I go, like, I'm terrible at this. Like, I'm terrible at this. Now, listen, all you who are married, you know what I'm talking about, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. And so I started thinking about gentleness, and this is what really came to my mind when I thought about gentleness and what gentleness is. Let me tell you three separate short stories. They all have to do with two dogs. I took our dogs one day down to the doggy wash down in Curry. And they were both in the back of my Jeep, and Michelle was there. And so when you open up a Jeep, you have to open up the tailgate like this, and then open up the top. Well, we open up the tailgate, my dogs are they're in there just bouncing off the walls trying to get out. And, and Ozzy's about 165 pounds, and Teton's about 120. And so they're in the back of this Jeep. And so I'm trying to keep them in there and hook their leashes on. So I open this up, and they bound out. They jump out, and they spin me around, and they take the leashes with them. And I'm holding on to them. I can't let them go. And Michelle's standing here, and they run this way, and they just upend Michelle. She lands on the ground. The leashes like rub her legs. This is in the summertime. Rub her leg, cut her legs, and she's on the ground. And the dogs are still running around, tying each other up. And that's story number one. Story number two. I don't know, about a month ago, as was during a big snowfall, we came home from church, and I said, Brock, our dogs are up on the lines on the hillside. And I said, I'll go get Teton. He's the lighter one. And I said, you get Ozzy. Ozzy's, like I said, he's 165. I think Brock's 150, sopping wet. I don't know, maybe. And so he goes to get Ozzy. And so he gets Ozzy, and there's snow on the ground, this much snow on the ground. Well, the snow doesn't affect them at all, right? I mean, their traction is better in the snow than it is anytime. And so I get Teton coming down the hill. All of a sudden, I hear Brock just screaming. He's yelling at Ozzy, and I look up, and Brock's laying on the ground like this, being dragged across the snow like a sled. Story number three. Brent, well, help me get the dogs. I said, I'll get Ozzy. I think I can handle Ozzy. I'll get him. And I weigh a few more pounds than Ozzy does. And so I'll get Ozzy, and I said, Brent, you get Teton. And so I said, Brent, don't come down here. It's too steep. Go over there. Well, he went over there in the snow, and the same thing. Teton jerked him, and he went down on the ground. And you should saw, it was like this streaks through the snow. All the way down to till his body stopped, only because my Jeep stopped him. Boom. He was stopped there. So there's actually one more story that goes along with this. So I had, when Michelle and I first got married, I had another Alaskan Malamute. He was about the same size as Ozzy, and big and strong and powerful. But he was the most gentle dog ever. As a matter of fact, when he would come by an adult, he would put his weight on you and push on you. And it was so heavy, it push on you, it would push you backwards. But when he was around children, he would just stand there. And kids would climb on his back, and they would be on him, holding him like this, and he would just stand there. And he was the epitome of what we call a gentle giant. He was calm. He was manageable. He was kind. The opposite of the knuckleheads that I have right now. The exact opposite. And so I found a definition, of course, for gentleness. Because here's the thing. Maybe you disagree with me, but a couple things. One is I've never heard anybody come to me in all my years of ministry in a time of Bible study or prayer or whatever. I've never heard anybody say this. Would you pray for me? I need to be more gentle. Pray that I can become more gentle. I've never heard anybody say that. I've never said it. No one's ever asked me that. I don't think it's a quality in our society that we value. To me, gentleness almost speaks of, at least our culture would say, speaks of a weakness. Being gentle. You don't want to be gentle, you want to be strong, right? Somehow we value that. We value, and listen, I'm gonna say something, and I don't mean any disrespect by what I'm gonna say or anything, but it's just how we are, especially as men. If we talk about somebody and we define somebody, like when I talk to Pete, if you ask Pete about his dad, he says one word. What word is it, Pete? Tough. My dad was tough. My dad was tough. How do you want somebody to describe you? You want someone to say, oh yeah, man. Because as men, sometimes, yeah, oh, that'd be a great way to be defined. Tough. He's tough. What about if they define you? Define Pete in one word? Oh, he's gentle. That doesn't even sound good, does it? Right? Oh, he's so gentle. Pete, be quiet, Pete. You don't have a mic back there. Do you get what I'm saying? It's not something that we put a great value on, gentleness. But I'm here to challenge us today to say, I think it's a quality, an aspect of love that we need to pay more attention to, right? Now, it's easy for a guy, say, to be gentle to a woman or so forth, but I want to talk to us about this in a maybe a broader perspective. Okay, so let's give a definition of. This isn't my definition, by the way, but a definition of gentleness. Gentleness is power under control. That was my dog, Teton. Sheer power, but under control. He would listen, right? I don't know how I spent a lot of time with him by myself. I was single. He would listen. I worked on a horse farm, and I would take horses out. And one time, he got to chasing horses, and I couldn't catch him to bring him in. And so I yelled at him. I told him to sit down in the field. And I got the horses, and I took him in, and I'm looking around him in the barn. I'm looking around for Tito. I couldn't find him. And I walked back out, and he's sitting in the field. Power, gentleness is power. It's not that you have to be weak, right? It's power under control. The definition goes on and says this. It's the ability to stay calm no matter what happens. Wow, I like that. Do you like that? It's the ability, gentleness is the ability to stay calm no matter what happens. Hopefully you know people like that. I've known people like this before in my past. Let me tell you something about those people. Some I knew really well, and others I didn't really know that well. But let me tell you something that I felt about those people. That they were of noble character. They didn't get upset. It doesn't mean they weren't passionate about things. That's not what I'm saying. There was this idea of power under control. Let me read the scripture to you. Isaiah. So now remember, this is Old Testament. This is Isaiah using language to try to describe God and so forth. So in terms of Old Testament, there's a lot of reference to kings and battle and war, and you follow me? And so they used this language when they tried to understand, God and who he was and so forth. And so Isaiah, in an effort to do that, he's talking about, he goes, see, the sovereign Lord comes with power. Now he's starting out here, he's trying to encourage the Israelites that their God is this mighty God, is this powerful God. So he's using this flowery kind of language, and he says this, and he rules with a mighty arm. Because that's what you want from a king, right? You want a king who is powerful, who is strong, and so he's using this language to talk about God. And then he says, see, his reward is with him. His recompense accompanies him. What's that talking about? It's talking about the king coming with the spoils of war, with those prisoners kind of behind him, marching behind him, and right? Now, I'm not trying to say that God is for war and encourages war. That's not what I mean. I mean, he's trying to describe the power and might of the God of Israel. And so he uses this language, listen, you need not be afraid because our God is this kind of God. He's a powerful God. You follow me? Okay. That's what Isaiah is trying to do. But then he goes on to say this. And then he switches gears and he says, he tends his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in his arms, and he carries them close to his heart. Isn't that great descriptive language, right? You kind of read it like poetry. What's he talking about here? And he says this, he gently leads those that have young. The Bible often uses this metaphor of God being a good shepherd, right? Who leads the sheep. He doesn't force them. Let's face it. No matter what you think about God, right? How you try to imagine him or whatever, if he created everything that exists in whatever manner that is, right? Whatever manner that is. I'm not here to tell you how you have to believe, right? I don't know if you 6 days of creation. I really don't care. If you believe he created the circumstances surrounding a big bang and there was an explosion, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I really don't. Now, some people argue and say, but that does matter. I actually don't think it does matter. I don't think it does matter. I think scientists, even now, today, say we don't understand. We understand there was a big bang, but before that, there was this energy. What was the energy? We don't know. We don't know what this energy was. Well, what they call energy, that's fine. I can call God. I give it a different name, right? And this energy was the cause behind everything that came into being. I'm okay with that. And so we have this God who is the creator of everything, who is being described as a shepherd. A shepherd is one. Listen, God could, if he could create everything, he could force you to do whatever he wanted, don't you think? Right? He could make every one of us follow him. He could make you, in a manner of speaking, he could make you love him. The question would be, would that even be love? What would that be? Because I think love demands a choice, doesn't it? Demands a choice. To choose to love, to choose to follow. And so he leads like a good shepherd. What does a shepherd do? A shepherd will leave the flock for the one. A shepherd will stay up late at night to protect the sheep. A shepherd loves. And then it says in John 10:27, talking about him, he said, my sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. Now, I've never been around sheep. I don't know, but I know what it's like being around other animals, right? I know even up on the farm. I think that there was a time when you guys had cows, and I remember his father going out and calling the cows. I think they knew his voice. They knew his voice. And they would come. If I went out and said the exact same thing, think they're going to come? No, because they knew his voice. And he could listen to them. He knew if there was one in distress. And that's what this is. That's this metaphor. That's what he's saying to us is it's kind of like that, a shepherd. We need to know his voice. Because he knows our cry. He hears our cry. I think this is no small thing, to be honest with you. I think this is no small thing at all because Because when we follow, we will become like that which we follow. But I mean follow. I don't mean in name only. I don't mean in I'm a Christian. I mean really follow. To be like him. How can I be like him? Well, you have to know him, don't you? In Galatians, after this, there's a really, really important verse after this verse in Galatians. And this is in chapter 5. It says this, talking about these characteristics or these virtues. It says, as we keep in step with the Spirit. As we keep in step with the Spirit. In other words, another way to say it would be allowing yourself to be led by the Spirit. Oftentimes, Michelle will pray, or even Amy prayed today, that I would be led by the Spirit. And whenever they pray that for me, Michelle or Amy, whoever pray, I kind of feel like, wow, wonder how much I allowed myself to be led by the Spirit when they pray that. Sometimes I don't think about it. Sometimes I don't question where my ideas or thoughts come from. Right? I'm not saying that's bad or good. I'm just saying, but it makes me cognizant of it at least. And I guess what I'm trying to say is this: I want to be more aware of that. Now, one thing I'm thankful for is I believe that the Spirit is always leading me. So I think sometimes when an idea comes or whatever, I trust that it's the Spirit leading me. But I want to be more connected, maybe, to the whole process. Not just in a message, but I mean in life, right? Did you ever just have like a weird feeling like you should do something? Did you? Like I should maybe go talk to that person, or I should help that. Anybody? Am I the only one? Hopefully you have. And do you ever just stop and go, like, where did that come from? Like where did that idea come from? Maybe even an altruistic sort of feeling or whatever, right? And like, where did that come from? God, is that you? Is that you, God? Because here's why. You need to ask yourself that question and learn to ask yourself that question, because then and only then are you going to be able to practice listening, right? If I called somebody up for the very first time, now I know we have caller ID and all that kind of stuff, but if I called for the very first time, and I said, let's say I called Steve up for the very first time. I said, hey, Steve, how you doing? He goes, great. Hey, who is this? Why does he ask, who is this? Well, I don't recognize who this is. Who is this? This is Jeff. Oh, Jeff. We have a conversation. A week later, call back. Hey, Steve, what's going on? Hey, man, what's up? Hey, is this Jeff? Yeah, it's Jeff. Oh, okay, yeah. You get what I'm saying? It takes practice. I hate to say it like that, but this does. It takes practice. No different than following God and following the Spirit. When's the Spirit speaking to you? I don't know. How does he speak to you? I don't know. I don't know how he speaks to you. Don't know. But I believe that he does. I believe that he's in me. His Spirit dwells in me. And if that's the case, he's gently, like a shepherd leads his sheep, gently leading me. Not in a bullish way, right? Just the easy, kind, gentle way. Now, here's the thing. As we keep in step with the Spirit, okay? So that was really the gist of the message, okay? So I have 3 points that I think are what we can maybe use to, when you have a time of self-evaluation, sit down and say, how am I, how was my life look like, right? Am I in this area in my life? And maybe I can't even evaluate it fairly myself. Maybe I need to go to my a close, trusted friend, a spouse or something, ask them, how do you think I'm doing? How do you think my life is in this area? Because here's why. It's not so much that you need to work on it, because I believe the Bible says it's the Spirit that's doing this work in us. But it is our job to follow the Spirit. Do you get what I'm saying? So it is and it isn't our responsibility. Because you do not have to yield to the Spirit. You absolutely 100% do not. You do not have to yield to the Spirit. But it would behoove you to yield to the Spirit in your life. And as you yield to the Spirit, what happens is the fruit becomes manifest in your life. So what you can do is you can use that as a gauge to how am I yielding to the Spirit. Does that make sense? Not that you're saying, I need to be more gentle. This week I wasn't too gentle with my words with Pete. This coming week I ought to be more gentle with my words with Pete. No, not really. What I want to do is I want to say I want to yield to the Spirit, follow the Spirit, right? And we'll get into that here in a minute, right? And then the fruit of that, of yielding to the Spirit, the fruit of keeping in step with the Spirit is going to be, one of the aspects, qualities, is going to be gentleness. So, the first thing would be this: when you are living in step with the Spirit, the first thing is this: that I will become more gentle. I will become more gentle. Now, here's the thing. I know what some people are thinking. You don't understand, Jeff. Listen, I don't care I'm Irish, and us Irish, right? Or hey, I'm Italian. You can say anything you want. I'm every nationality, and whatever, right? And listen, that may be a definition of why you're like that. I agree, right? Maybe a definition of why you're like that. It doesn't mean you can't change, because if you're relying on yourself and your own power to change, agreed. But if you're living your life in step with the Spirit, then you have no choice but to change, because it's going to happen from inside out. And you won't even really notice, you won't even recognize it. In Colossians chapter 1, it says this: we continually ask God to fill you with the knowledge of His will. Listen to these words: the knowledge of His will, through all wisdom and understanding. Where's that taking place? All wisdom and understanding that the Spirit gives. The Spirit gives wisdom and understanding. When my boys go out, my Brock went out the other night. I told him again when he goes out, I go, Brock, you have to learn how to make wise decisions. Wise. Not just good, not fun, but wise decisions. I told him, you're 20 years old. You have your entire life ahead of you. Make decisions. So based on your future hopes and dreams, make wise decisions based on those things. How does that happen? Well, keep in step with the Spirit. Keep in step with the Spirit, and the Spirit will give you understanding and wisdom. Bearing fruit in every good work, growing in the knowledge of God, being strengthened with all power. Hey, and just keep in mind, who's doing this? You? No, God's doing this. God is doing this. Paul's prayer is this: my prayer is that the Spirit does this for you. That's my prayer. The Spirit does this for you. Now, let me ask you again. Do you have to yield to the Spirit? You don't have to. Is it in your best interest to yield to the Spirit in your life? It's in your best interest. And yet we don't do it consistently enough. Because we think it's not that big of a deal. Or I know better. Anybody ever made a bad decision in your entire life? Ever made a bad decision? Anybody ever? Raise your hand if you've ever made a bad decision. Right, right. Would you like to make better decisions in the future? Yes, absolutely. Learn to yield to the Spirit. So, I'm out of time here. I'm just going to stop on this point actually, because this is a kind of a. My friend Jeff down in Florida. Every time we go to Florida, we do kind of some of the same things always, like always, and it's just fun because, it's just tradition anymore. And one of the things we do is we put on music videos, and oftentimes like someone will get up to the TV and like dance with them at the TV or whatever. This is funny, And Jeff and Rosanna, when they got married, I married them down in Florida. When they got married, they danced to the song "Thinking Out Loud" by Ed Sheeran. You ever see that? There's a video of that, him dancing. And so Jeff and Rosanna did that dance. Well, it took them a long time to learn that dance. We always joke about some of the moves that she makes and Rosanna makes. And I said, Jeff, all you got to do is like this, catch her here. Anyways, my point was this: when we'd get up there in front and the TV's there, and you'd watch right what they were doing, and you'd watch their steps, and you'd follow their steps, right? And that's what you do. And so they did that over and over and over and over again at their wedding. It was a beautiful first dance. They danced, that to that song. It was really, really, really touching. And so the point is that you have to. So the Bible says this. The Bible tells us, fix your eyes on Jesus. Now I know it's a metaphor because there's nothing to look at, is there? But fix your eyes on Jesus. Jesus says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. I can't stress this enough. So what we need to do is we need to fix our eyes on him and say, how does he live his life? How did he live his life? And then, because the Spirit, right? The Spirit was in Jesus, is in us. The Spirit's wanting to lead us in the exact same direction as Jesus. Exact same direction. In first century, they lived in a very tumultuous time. The government was out to destroy Christians. The more they grew, the more persecution they got. Did you hear me? The government was out to destroy Christians. Did Jesus say, what did he say about that? He didn't say much about it, did he? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. I'm not saying you shouldn't be involved in politics. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I hope that you have a sense in your life of something bigger than a local government, a state government, a federal government. I hope that you don't look and go, oh, God, that's our only hope. No, it's not. It's not. It wasn't then. It wasn't with the Roman Empire. It wasn't with the Egyptians. It wasn't with the China, all the Chinese dynasties, right? It wasn't. Never has been, never will be. I hope there's one king in your life, just one. That's it. Makes it pretty simple. Makes it pretty simple. Again, I'm not saying don't be involved in politics. I think all that kind of stuff is important and everything, right? And it ebbs and flows. It comes and goes continually, always, right? Excuse me. Hope your hope is somewhere else. Hope that you're following different footsteps. And friends, when we start to live like that, you want to see change, Hey, I'm going to close with this. Let me tell you this. I was reading Psychology Today, and there are these I forget what the term is, but they're like cultural biologists, right? And they're looking at how Homo sapien is a form of sapien that has stood the test of time, right? Has made it, and all the different kind of reasons. It's really interesting. Now, this isn't a Christian article or anything. You know, the number one thing they say is that the reason why our species has survived and thrived and done so much, you never guess. It's one word. Can you guess the word? Anybody? The home message was on it today. Gentleness. Can you believe that? Gentleness? You know why? Because it takes, in order to thrive and to move forward, it takes cooperation. And to cooperate, if you're constantly harsh and at odds with other people, do you cooperate? No. They said gentleness, they found, is the key to our survival. I couldn't believe it. I read, I go, this is perfect. This is perfect because I don't care if someone you don't believe in the Bible, then okay, then go over here, right? Go over this side and look here. I don't care. Gentleness is a key. It's a key. Now, of course, it stems from love, and it starts with our loving God. The Bible says He first loved us. I know you don't have notes or anything, but my next points are, talking about our speech, right? Our speech, we should learn our speech to be gentle. And that's one way to evaluate yourself. Is my speech more gentle? And the last one is my ways in which I interact with other people. The way I see other people. Is it becoming more and more gentle? So again, friends, I think this is something that we can use to help as you do I hope you do self-evaluation periodically. I wonder, how am I doing? Am I essentially, I'm 60 now. Am I essentially the same person I was when I was 50? I hope not. But where am I different? How am I different? Right? Am I as sarcastic as I was when I was 50? Right? I want to be able to evaluate that because I want to. Here's the thing. I say this over and over and over and over again. I hope this is true about you. I want to be the best version of me that I could be. The best version. I hope that's true of you. I hope you want to be the best version of you that you can be. That means the best husband that you can be. The best, right? The best wife, spouse, son, daughter, grandparent, whatever, aunt, uncle, friend, pastor, boss, employee. I want to be the best version that I could be. The best version. And I want to do it by keeping in step with the Spirit. Let's stand. Father, we're grateful that we have the Spirit in our life. Lord, by your Spirit even, give us knowledge and wisdom to first and foremost learn how to keep in step with the Spirit. So we're even asking for the Spirit to do that in us. Give us that knowledge and wisdom that we need. The same way we want our children to have wisdom and make decisions based on that. You desire the same thing for us. That we're able to keep in step with the Spirit and affect change in our life, affect change in the lives of those around us. And then we affect change in our communities, in our states, in our country, in our world. I believe it. as we keep in step with the Spirit. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thanks, friends. Have a great day.